Hi everyone, I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi. Thank you for joining us today on our weekday live broadcast, 5 p.m. Pacific time, every Monday through Friday. Live is going to be on TikTok, immigration lawyer John, recording on YouTube and other social media channels, and Fridays on Facebook, Mondays and Fridays on Facebook, Tuesdays and Thursdays on Instagram, and Wednesdays on YouTube Live. And it might switch up in the future. I'll let you know if that happens. But for now, we're here to take your questions. As people start to trickle in, feel free to let it in. As always, when I start, I'll let you know that this is strictly informational and educational only, but not intended for individual legal advice. You should consult with an immigration attorney in person or by video, just one-on-ones, for them to review your background detail to see what information advice suits your case, because every case is so different. So just take that to heart, and with that, let's get it started. All right, so the situation, the questions coming in are primarily always related to the travel ban, the newest one that happened, which was partially an extension of the existing travel ban, the immigrant visa travel ban, and this new non-immigrant visa travel ban for example, H-1B holders. And so the previous immigrant visa travel ban was pretty strict. So essentially, unless you're married to a U.S. citizen, you're a child of a U.S. citizen, and some other rare exceptions, your visa is not going to be issued until things change. And so we had a couple of statements and questions. Mel asked, most common immigration country. The U.S., I think you're asking which country sends the most people to the United States, if you will. It's the people with large populations. So Mexico, China, India, Philippines, somewhat Vietnam, somewhat the Central American countries. Those are the biggest ones. But Canadians are a big part of U.S. Immigration. So when it comes to, for example, the number of tourist overstays is from Canada, actually. Luke asked, my baby mama be breaking into my crib. What should I do? What should I do at home? You should get a life. You get bad decisions if you got a baby mama breaking your house. You should get your act together. You got some problems. Don't be coming on a show to ask questions. You need to get some help. Malik asked, how long is it going to take for marriage green card cases from now on? It's unknown. It depends on your case. So you should consult a lawyer to get an idea of what's going on with the case, so you better understand why that question is not really possible to answer. Okay, Imani says, hey John, I have a question about immigration. Well, yes, just shoot it out here. We're here to take questions to the extent possible and to answer them. Okay, so more people coming in, putting out their questions. If you're on Facebook, you can ask as well. We'll go back to the travel ban issue. So yeah, it's a harsh thing because people who have work visas or they're expecting to get a work visa, for example, the H-1B program, they're chosen in the lottery, they're waiting for the interview, it's probably not going to happen. Or people who won the green card lottery, they're not going to potentially be able to get their visa in time to be able to come, and they'll lose that lottery win that they had. So it's very sad. They probably already paid fees and stuff. There's got to be some lawsuit somewhere in there to get that money back at least. Tracy on Facebook asks, good evening, my husband is a U.S. citizen. I have unmarried kids over 21. They're out of the country. Can I file for them? How long the wait is? So your husband could file for them. I'm not sure about your status to say if you can or not, but it's going to take a long time, more than 5 years, maybe 7, 8, 9 years, maybe longer. It depends on a different kind of factors, if they're married or single. You said they're single, but things could change. But consult with an immigration attorney. There's a timeline window, thing called a visa bulletin. That's the reference. The category for them, if your husband applies and they stay single, is the F1 category. So it's the first row on that. You'll see what current cases are being decided, but the timelines diverge and change up so much that I don't like to talk about timelines. And frankly, let's people know I'm going to skip over questions that ask about how long things take, because it's not appropriate for me to answer those without knowing a lot more information. Even then, it would just be a guess, and I don't really want to come here and guess things. Alon says, what do you suggest for parents that have been an immigration assistant for 12 years? I don't know. That's too broad of a question. Maybe they should come and talk with a lawyer in person or a video and review their case. That's what I suggest. Imani asks, I currently am a U.S. resident. How is COVID-19 going to affect getting citizenship? I'm 22 years old. Well, COVID-19 could kill you. Hopefully that won't happen. But how it affects getting citizenship is completely unrelated. There's things you require for citizenship. You should consult an immigration attorney to see if you have problems with that. But how it's going to affect citizenship, there might be some delays here and there. That's it. I'm not sure what your question is exactly. Malik asks, if you got divorced while having a temporary green card, is it still possible to get a permanent resident green card? Well, this is a really good question. It's probably one of the worst areas of immigration law because the way they've made it is really bad. But the question, the issue here is if someone is getting a green card through marriage, if the marriage is rather new, less than 2 years old when the green card is issued, then the person who gets the green card, the foreign national, gets what's called a conditional green card. It's only valid for 2 years, and before that 2 years is up, they have to file another application with the spouse to show that their relationship is real and to document it. But sometimes in that 2 years, people get divorced or separated. What happens then? Well, you can still keep it. First of all, you could submit it alone and say, my relationship was real. Here's a proof, but things didn't work out. Or there's waivers. For example, if there was abuse from that spouse and you can show it, you can get a waiver. Or if there's a reason why going back to your home country would be really troublesome and problematic, there's a waiver for that as well. Now, if you don't have the abuse or the trouble going back to your home country, you could file alone, but you have to be divorced for them to approve the case. So if you submit one of these cases and you're in the process of getting divorced, you're separated, they cannot approve the case until your divorce is finalized, and that becomes a timing issue. For example, in California, it takes a minimum of 6 months to get divorced. Sometimes people get in fights and argue over money. It can take longer. Now you should talk with the family attorney to see if there's a way to make that faster. But if you don't get that final divorce when the decision is made or an interview is called for removal of conditions, potentially they could deny the case right there. So it's a really bad timing situation. So the sooner you talk with an immigration lawyer, the better it is to figure out how to deal with that, how to get some more time, buy some more time for the divorce to go through, and also how to document that the relationship is real, because they're really strict on this and they want to see as much paperwork and explanations as possible to be able to prove the case when you're filing it as a divorced person or a person who's separating, as opposed to filing jointly as a happily married couple. So it's a really troubling area of immigration law because the way they've done it is really harsh on the applicant. But it is possible, I've done it many times, where people just doesn't work out relationships and they apply on their own and it works out just fine. So I hope that information helped. Now on Facebook, Marilyn asks, hello, our country, Philippines, does not allow U.S. tourist visa holders to leave and travel due to COVID. What do you think is the restriction will be lifted? I think you're saying our country does not allow U.S. tourist visa holder to leave. And I don't know what to tell you about Philippines law not letting you leave. I don't know what's going on. I'm only a U.S. immigration attorney. If you can't leave a country, contact the U.S. embassy and see what the situation is. But you're saying U.S. tourists, you got to rephrase your question. So if you're asking if you want to come visit the United States, but you can't because I don't know, your question is kind of doesn't make sense to me. Please reword it. Okay, Malik, I just answered your question. Mello asks, what's a green card lottery? Well, the U.S. created a system 20, 30 years ago where every year people from countries that are not the top users of green cards can apply. And there's around 50,000 spots. Most of those spots don't get filled up, but 50,000 people get chosen out of this big bunch that put their name in that lottery. And they say, if you're chosen and you satisfy the rest of the requirements, you have the opportunity to potentially get a green card. Now, there's a bunch of steps along the way, but the first thing is you apply for the green card lottery. It's called the diversity visa lottery. And then if you're chosen, then you start submitting documents. And that following year, before the following end of September the following year, you have to have a visa interview and get the visa approved, or else you lose your spot in that line. And that's the problem right now with the travel ban, is that those people need to do their interviews before the end of September. Right now, when they're recording this, it's the end of June. If they don't do the interview and get the visa approved, then they lose out on that lottery chance and that luck. So definitely look into it. Now, be careful. There's a lot of websites that say pay us and we'll register you and stuff like that. There's no fees involved. It's a free thing to do the initial registration. Now, the later parts do have filing fees with the U.S. government, but the initial registration is a U.S. government website. Make sure to go to the right website and make sure you don't pay any fees. There's a lot of scams out there, but you could put your name in the lottery if you're not from a country that has high immigration numbers in the United States, and you might get chosen. A lot of clients might have got their green card that way. It's an interesting way to go. All right, so Ibrahim asks, how long does it take to get a fiancé visa? I answered no questions about timelines. Alexander asks, how soon can you apply for parents after getting citizenship? So it's a question I get a lot, which is, a person becomes a U.S. citizen, how soon can they start applying for different people? Because when you're a U.S. citizen, you can start applying for your parents, you can start applying for your married adult children, and you can start applying for brothers and sisters as well. How soon could you do that? Well, you can do that the second that you get your naturalization certificate. So for citizenship, you apply, you do an interview, but the interview is not the final approval. Eventually, you go to an oath ceremony, you raise your hand, you promise to be a good American, all that kind of stuff, and they give you a naturalization certificate. And that's the paperwork that shows you're a U.S. citizen. They don't give you a passport. Their passport is something you separately apply for, but that piece of paper, the naturalization certificate, is the proof that you're a U.S. citizen. And as soon as you have that paper in hand, you can submit a Form I-130 petition for alien relative for your parents, for brothers and sisters, or adult married children. Whereas green card holders cannot do that. And so, look into that if you're interested, and talk with a lawyer. They've made the process more strict, especially for parents and brothers and sisters. So there's a lot going on there, but with your question, how soon can you apply and start the process? Well, immediately is the answer to that question. Okay, Malik, thank you, sir. Answers help a lot. You're welcome. I appreciate that. Thank you for everyone who's joining, sharing and following. Kalubi asks, my case was transferred yesterday to the National Visa Center. How long I have to wait for other process? Can you tell me? There is no fixed time. The periods of time change drastically on this depending on what your case is and what's going on with the National Visa Center. So there's no answer to your question, but I would say consult with a lawyer to get general understanding of the process. I think that's more important, to understand the process as opposed to the timelines. Because the timelines are just, there's not giving visas out right now, for example. So how are you going to guesstimate that? Asylum in 2018. How do you ask? I got asylum in 2018, got work permit after 6 months and expired this year. Will they extend the work permit? I don't know. In your case, your situation, sometimes they won't, but you need to apply for the renewal. Whether they'll extend or not depends on a lot of your background stuff. So I can't answer a case-specific question like that. Alexander, you're all says, I'm awesome. Thank you so much. Gulisha says, how long do I have to wait until the next step to move forward? I don't know what step. Let me see. What did you just question? What was your, did you ask? Gulisha, I don't know what your previous question was to say how long the next step's going to be. You're saying how long do we have to wait till they move for next step? I don't know what step you were to go a step next to, and the timing varies a lot. So the question, for example, that was asked earlier is their case got sent to the National Visa Center. The thing is, I have one case where I-130 is the family petition was approved. The second it was approved, we got notification from the National Visa Center, and so we could start that consular processing stage if spouse is overseas. I have another case, it's been 3 months, we still have not gotten the welcome notice for the National Visa Center. This morning, a month ago, I wrote them a letter, and I did another letter this morning saying, where is it? And sometimes everything works fast, and then they lose the file. So the timelines are really impossible. You just say, you got to be patient and don't make any moves until a decision is made. Vivian asks, hi, can I ask you a question, please? Is it true that the Supreme Court restored the DACA program? Well, I have a video on this. If you go to YouTube, I clearly explained the situation. Unfortunately, there's a lot of hooray and hubbub that people are really excited that DACA stays, but that's not what the Supreme Court did. The Supreme Court just said the way the President Trump's administration took away the DACA program was problematic. They should have done some more paperwork, essentially. So they say the program is as it was right now. For the president, if they wanted to cancel it, just do it with a better program and better paperwork. So right now, DACA is restored, but the government's not accepting new applications or advanced parole as it is. So not really. Practically, it's not restored. And practically speaking, any second now, if they want to, the president could just resubmit the cancellation of DACA, and that's that, and that's be valid. So things you've been hearing online, and people have been really happy about DACA staying and all that. It's not true. It's misreading the thing. Now, if President Trump does nothing, it stays as it is. But USCIS, the immigration department that executes the laws, they have not given guidance on what their plans on DACA are, or if they'll accept applications. So there's all sorts of stuff. So I wouldn't be happy. I'll put it that way. If I was a DACA person, I wouldn't be jumping for joy that we're saved or something like that. That's not the case. They're still in this limbo of unknown. But if you have a DACA case, look into it. Talk with a lawyer about renewing it. But if you're a new DACA person, there's no judgment or decision on how to deal with that. Or if you want advanced parole, for example, how to deal with that. Hamis asks, hello, hope you're doing good. Thank you for all your help. You're welcome. I appreciate that. If you haven't told your friends, please tell them to join the channel. Go to the YouTube page, JQK Law Firm YouTube page. Subscribe. Any support you do. The more support I get, the more energy I have to come on these shows and talk with you all and continue this. Because I know people are listening. No one wants to talk to an empty room, which is where I'm right now. But knowing how engaged we are, it makes it a pleasure to do. So just keep on following and helping. I appreciate that. Which says I submitted the documents already. It's I-130 application. Next step is it depends on what. It just depends. So talk with the lawyer in private. There's a lot of different things. Vivian says, in full since the beginning of 2012. I don't know what the previous question was. Hamid says, how long does conditional rule normally take? 1 or 2 years on average. Nico Patel says, I don't have any questions, just passing the thought. Hope you have a blessed evening. Thank you, Nico. I appreciate that. You as well. Gosha asks, is it true that they are not going to grant any visa till 2021? It depends. If you're one of the exceptions, then no. But a lot of people are going to have that situation, but we'll see what happens. I did a full video describing what this situation is. Just go to my YouTube page, JK Law Firm. Go to the video about the travel ban that was recently there, and I fully describe what the situation is. But there are exceptions to this travel ban, and you have to see whether that applies to you, and that's that. And also, not every visa is included in it. So if you want a student visa, for example, that's not included. Or E2 investor visa, or O visa. There's all these different things. Because how long it take to process time for spouse to have a green card U.S. It varies. Go consult with a lawyer about times. Simon says, applying for U.S. citizenship marriage is 3 years from the date I become resident or I come to arrive in the U.S. So the question here is, how soon could you apply for citizenship if you got your green card through marriage to a U.S. citizen? When does the timing of it start? Well, first of all, you could apply as soon as 90 days before 3 years from the time your green card was issued. So you got to look at the issue date on your green card, add 3 years to it, then subtract 90 days, and that's the earliest that you can file. So it's not based on when you arrive in the United States. Now, sometimes if you're coming in, get your visa after doing an interview at the U.S. Embassy and you fly into the U.S., the day you arrive inside the United States is the date where your green card is issued. Those dates will overlap because that's when your residency starts. So that's that. But really, just look at the issue date on your green card. 90 days beforehand is when you can apply. But that's if you satisfied all these other requirements. So first of all, living with your married U.S. citizen, you've been married and living with the U.S. citizen spouse. You have the timelines correct, not being outside for too long, not having good moral character issues, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of things that go into it. But if you satisfy all of those, it's 3 years from the issue date of your green card, and you could file as soon as 90 days beforehand in many cases. Alexander asks, can the beneficiary use his own income for sponsorship once he gets his EAD if his wife doesn't qualify? No, you have to qualify at the time of filing, essentially. So you can't get the EAD and says, now I qualify, because they're looking at the petitioner sponsor. So you want the spouse to be able to satisfy at the time of filing of the I-864. I wouldn't risk using an EAD afterwards. That's not a good way to go. I wouldn't do that. Source says, 2 months ago I applied for citizenship, but I still haven't received anything yet. Well, you should have received a receipt notice. Then after that, you have to be patient. So 2 months is nothing. Vivian asks, can you travel outside the country? Can you travel outside the country with DACA? No. If you travel outside the country with DACA, you probably won't be. It depends on your background, what you've been doing, but you get usually no. There's more things I need to know about you to be able to answer this, but you need to get a special permission called advanced parole to be able to travel. They're very difficult to get, especially for DACA right now, but you need special. If you leave, there's a good chance you won't be able to come back in. Kanu says, when will H-1B premium start? H-1B premium has started in June. I'm not sure exactly, but the memo came out that premium processing H-1B started in different times in June, depending on what kind of case you have. Just go on, USCIS, type in premium processing, I-907, 4907. It'll be a calendar of when premium processing exactly started. I think it's already started. Carbu says, F2A category ban or not? So F2A category is included in the immigrant visa ban unless you have one of the exceptions. Golshan says, thank you, my name is Goli. Oh, thank you, Goli. It looks like an I there, that's why I say Goshan or something like that, but thank you. I'll read it in from afar. Buyer says, does gang enhancement get expunged off your record? Does it affect you moving forward? So for U.S. immigration purposes, expunges don't exist, and that's a common mistake that people have, and I'm really glad you brought this up. If you have ever been arrested, ever had anything with the police, even if you're just arrested and let go, you have to tell U.S. immigration authorities when you're handling stuff. Even if your criminal attorney said it was expunged just off your record, that does not count for U.S. immigration purposes. Expungement only counts for maybe employment law stuff and other kind of things, but immigration does not matter. So if you had, I'm not sure what gang enhancement means, but if you had anything of the sort, you are technically supposed to tell the government, USCIS, the Immigrant National Visa Center, or I'm sorry, DOS, the people that handle immigration case, and if you don't, it's considered misrepresentation and fraud and could follow you and cause massive problems for you in the future. So please, please, please don't think that an expungement is a real erasing. So for the future, if you get one, or if you have one, don't not tell your lawyer because you think some other lawyer or person told you that doesn't count. It does. For immigration purposes, expungements are non-existent. And they create an additional problem is when you get a file expunged, those records either get destroyed or erased or something like that. For immigration, we need to have original or certified copies of your police and arrest records and conviction records. But if it's been expunged, it makes it harder to get those documents. So it creates a secondary problem as well if you need to get those together. So it's very problematic, but a lot of people don't know this. For immigration purposes, expungements do not count and are non-existent. So don't rely on expungement. You have to deal with any arrest or criminal history that you do have. Texas says, NC has passed a Second Chance Act. I have a felony. Would I be able to get expungement and be able to blah, blah? You didn't finish your sentence, I said blah, blah. Well, that's a state law in North Carolina I'm not familiar with. And this is such a case-specific thing. You're going to have to talk with a lawyer in private to analyze what the situation is, what your crimes were, and how it affects anything. It's not something that we can answer over here. Goldie follows up. Goldie, are you located so I can come and talk? Well, I only do consultations by video at this point and probably in the future. So if you're interested in having a consultation, please just email me, info@jqqlaw.com. There is a consultation fee, but what I would ask is that you send me an email and briefly describe the immigration issue that you had so I can see if it's something my office even handles. And if so, we can schedule a consultation and I can let you know what the fee would be for that consultation. That's the best way to do it. Okay, Texas has to fix my legal status. Okay, Sharok asks, how long will it take to get approved when you file a visa? It depends. Bar asks, do gang enhancement get expunged 18? I got in trouble juvenile. It depends. You're welcome, Soars. Vivian, you're welcome. Aisha, hi to you too. Nayab says, do green card through marriage to a U.S. citizen still happening? Yes. Marriage-based green cards based on marriage to a green card holder or U.S. citizen are still happening. You can still file those, and I do those regularly. Ziggy asks, hi, how are you? How long I have to wait for the N400 after the interview? Wait for the N400. So are you saying how long to wait for your citizenship after you do your interview? It depends. Alexander says, I got advanced parole for a family-based green card adjustment. Would you need extra authorization for travel? No, the advanced parole is the, you need a passport for travel, but just be cautious. Traveling on advanced parole is not a guaranteed thing. It varies depending on your background and which officer you're dealing with, frankly, when you're re-entering the United States. So don't use advanced parole unless you really need to, but that's something you should consult with the attorney to review your background. But if you do have it, you just need that advanced parole paperwork and your passport. But if you have some issues with your case, sometimes you need more paperwork. It really depends on the facts of your case. Aishian says, my parents done interview getting 6 months, but they not get passports. Are they still waiting? They're still waiting. Your question is a lot to be left. Try to reword the question, be more exact. What interview they did, what they did, there's a lot of holes in your thing, and the sentence is not very clearly articulated. Shargas, if a person applied for a U visa, do the victim get any legal paperwork like work permit or something? Potentially, yeah, but talk with a lawyer in private. This is something you should really analyze your case to see what's going on. I should say they did their interviews in Islamabad, so they have to wait if they want to get their passport back, but it depends on what kind of visa they're applying for. I don't know, actually. I gotta review the case to see what's going on. User 49 says, any H1B with stamp coming back smoothly? Any H1B with stamping come back smoothly? Well, if you have a valid H1B, there's no reason for it not to come smoothly. One issue is the airlines might not understand that, but it is what it is. I can't tell you more than that. Shark says, say your email again, please. Sure, it's info@jqqlaw.com. If you're watching this on TikTok, if you just go to my profile page, there's a link tree. A link there is a link tree. You click on that, you go to my website, my newsletter, my reviews, Yelp reviews, all that kind of stuff's right there. So actually, if your parents went to a green card interview in Islamabad, Pakistan, and they're still waiting for a response, they just have to be patient. If you're in a rush, you can file a lawsuit against them. That might not be appropriate right now because the embassy is shut down due to coronavirus and because the travel ban will affect your parents. But please just consult with an immigration attorney in private. You probably should have done so months ago to see if it was one major issue that we're dealing with you could deal with. But if a lot of cases, just take time. That's the way it is right now. Abdul says, can you recommend any lawyer in Philadelphia since you don't work in Philadelphia? Well, I do work in Philadelphia. I have cases in Philadelphia. But it depends on what kind of case you have. If you like, please email me and describe your immigration issue so I can see what's going on. I don't like to just refer general like lawyer. There's much more specialization in the immigration field. So if you like, email me and briefly describe the immigration that you have, and I can tell you what's going on. But it's not that I don't work in Philadelphia. I have cases in Philadelphia. You're welcome, Sharok. So yeah, it's a misunderstanding. Now, if I had to go to case, if I had to go do a court case, for example, yeah, I'm not going to come to Philadelphia. But all the things my office handles is done by mailing the government or emailing them or calling them. And that's why my location doesn't matter for 99% of the cases. I have cases in Connecticut, New York, Philadelphia, Washington State, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Santa Clara, Texas. It's the great thing about having a federal practice is it doesn't matter. Charlotte, guys, do you handle U visa cases? I don't. If you're interested in connecting with a lawyer, please email me or remind me of kind of case you need. I can refer you to a colleague, but note they probably will have a consultation fee. But if you're interested, just email me and I'll connect you with a colleague that does U visas. Yeah, that's about that. So yeah, the U visa, for those who don't know, is a visa for people that have been victims of certain serious crimes. So if you go to the USCIS website, it lists what the crimes are that you're a victim of. And when you get that, you can apply for eventually getting a work permit, eventually getting some sort of status, and even get a green card citizenship, and bring even some members of your family with you. So it's a pretty powerful visa. The problem is there's a huge backlog. There's a limited number of them, so this backlog goes. And the way President Trump has made the immigration system, some people unfortunately won't be able to stay in the United States till their case is done. They have to leave and then come back later once it's approved. It's a huge mess, a huge mess. So unfortunately, those people have been through like brutality because of the crimes they've been victims of, and then they have to go through the system. But at the end of the day, there's a good chance that you could get status and get status for some family members as well, children, for example, or spouse. So it's something important to look into to be ready for. 1234 says hi to you as well. Says you're such a nice person. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate the kind words. My friend Parviz says good summary of the U visa situation now. Thank you. Parviz is an immigration attorney on Facebook. Parviz, do you do U visas? Because I don't. I know Parviz is T visas. T visas are people who are victims of sexual trafficking. Unfortunately, it's a menace that still exists. What's called white slavery. Yes, he's, thank you, Parviz. So, Parviz Malakuti probably does, I'm assuming you do U visa. So he's a fellow Los Angeles immigration lawyer. But again, it's one of those things where you can file a case wherever you're from. I don't, oh, okay, he says I don't, sorry. Well, I was trying to refer your case, brother, but thanks for the kind words. Raj says, the new asylum rule is also in effect on those who've already pending asylum or not. There's a lot of changes that are happening with new asylum rules, so it depends on which ones you're talking about. Some will and some won't. But if you have an asylum case, just talk with your lawyer. There's new rules that are affecting different aspects of stuff. You got it, Parviz. Okay, so we only got a few minutes left. As a reminder, go to the YouTube page, subscribe, follow there. I put a lot of information there, as well as on the Instagram page. So there's things you won't see on TikTok, things you won't see on Facebook that I've put on YouTube and on Instagram. It's JQK Law Firms as the screen handle for those, so check them out. I like to do my live every day on TikTok. So if you're watching other stuff and you want to contact live, go there. Or every day I do a different other social media. Praj says, any news on the new DACA application? Please go to my JK Law Firm YouTube page. I talk about that. I have a video of that describing what the situation is. I have another colleague, Maka. Hi, Maka. Okay, so Sora says, it's really nice of you. You spend time for our questions. God bless you. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I try my best here. Unfortunately, a lot of the questions are about how long things take, and there's no real good answer to that kind of stuff. And so, and it just is repeating me saying, I don't have an answer, I don't have an answer. But the ones that are good are really good. I enjoy it, and I'm glad I give some relief to people because it's hard to get this information. Assad on Facebook asks, can you get a student visa if your immigrant visa is in process? Very unlikely. I mean, can it happen? Yes, but most likely it's not going to happen. And so I wouldn't rely on that. And another issue that pops up is when they passed this immigrant visa travel ban extension in the new one, the wording said if you try to bypass or try to fake the play the system or the strategy to avoid the travel ban, they can consider that fraud. So one thing people are going to be doing is getting a student visa or a tourist visa, which are still allowed, to come to the United States and then do change of status to H-1B, for example, or adjust status. You got to be careful on that. They may accuse you of fraud if you do something like that. So that's something to be very careful of to not have problems. But that's something that I was reading again. I'm like, oh, this is some sinister stuff they're trying to pull here. Savio asks, like 3 years ago, I was arrested about drive the 49 without license, and this is a criminal offense, or I don't know, you got to talk with a lawyer. You are my favorite great show. Thank you, Anna. I appreciate that. Okay, I'll take one more question and then we'll call it a day. If you have criminal issues, that area of immigration law is so complicated and is so troublesome, and there's so much paperwork review involved that you just gotta call a lawyer. There's no going to an online forum to talk about it. You gotta go to a lawyer in private. All right, last question, and I see some criminal stuff in there. Is it necessary to submit online police certificate for USA visa? Can we submit this on interview time? So, if you have criminal history, you have to get a police certificate. If you're getting a green card through an immigrant visa, through a consulate, you do have to get a police certificate from every country that you lived in for certain periods of time. The National Visa Center website breaks down what it is, but you will need to upload, for example, if you're doing an immigrant visa, which is going to be a green card, you have to upload copies of it and then bring the original or certified version of it, if that country offers those kind of documents, or just a copy if they only have copies, to the interview for the officer to see. So that is a requirement. Now, if you're doing, like if I'm applying for a tourist visa and I don't have any arrest history, I have a clean criminal history, I don't have to do any of that. But there's certain types of cases that you do need to, and both, it'll be, for immigrant visas, you need to upload it. For non-immigrant visas, you bring it with you to the police, to the embassy to show that you have a clear record. And I guess last question right here, Shahrukh says, is there any difference between green cards, the way, how you get it? Yeah, there's massive differences, hundreds of differences. But that's I mean, it's just a whole, that's immigration law right there. But anyway, thanks everyone for joining. If you haven't already, join the JQK Law Instagram page, YouTube page. I'll be back again here Monday, 5 p.m. Pacific. Again, I'll be on Facebook on Monday, but always every day, every weekday on TikTok, and you catch the recordings of this on YouTube. Thank you so much for everyone who participated, and I appreciate the questions and hope all your immigration issues get resolved. I know how troublesome and stressful this all could be, but again, I hope this helped relieve some of that. Until next one, have a good one. God bless. Thank you. Bye-bye.